Unanswered Universe podcast. Question everything starts now.
I'm Althea. I'm a multidimensional galactic channel, ET contact team, and I really just help people become, a better version of themselves.
We see that you do this thing called light language, and it consists of sounds, vibrations, and it seems to touch many people. Can you explain what light language is?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. So from how I understand it, light language is literally the new technology that's coming in to assist the raising of vibrational frequency and collective consciousness of the planet. It works beyond the constraints of space and time. So, light language can be expressed in many different ways. It can be sung, it can be spoken, it can be written, it can be through movement. It's a direct expression of the soul. And as I mentioned, it works beyond the constraints of space and time, so the person doesn't have to be in an understanding of what it is that's coming through. The codes and the light language will go directly where it's needed within the energy field, within the DNA structure. And sometimes it can also be seen as geometry that literally embeds within the aura, within the energy field, within DNA, within the etheric body. And then as a consequence, it anchors into that from these high vibrational frequency spaces, and then that will affect, into the physical. So it can bring across a variety of different types of healings. If anyone who is listening is familiar with Reiki, I kind of understand light language as, the evolution of that. So the new technology that's coming in to assist the planet in the ascension and awakening process.
What you're talking about is healing, right? Is emotional healing, maybe healing from generational trauma. Talk about how you get into that.
For me, as a practitioner, I hold space for the individual to heal. So I don't actually go in and do the healing for them. I just, assist and kind of like nudge them in the right direction. But everything comes from intention. So it's not our fault that we inherit generational trauma from the matriarchal and patriarchal family lineages. However, it is our responsibility to heal it and work through it. And on a very practical level, like there's quite straightforward ways that can be done, by being in your truth, making sure that your boundaries are set, making sure that you are listening to yourself, and a lot of the times, when someone has maybe like people pleasing patterns or abandonment wounds, these are just some of the most common things that I see, having worked with thousands of clients. It really just comes down to listening to yourself, listening to your body, and then voicing that, being truthful to that, making sure that thoughts, actions, emotions, and words are all in alignment. And as you start operating from this space of surrender and unconditional love for the self, then the healing kind of like starts to happen naturally. So I will assist people, I will facilitate that, within the energy field. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll go in and also see experiences that people have had in past parallel and future lifetimes that are affecting them within this lifetime now, because the quantum realm, there is no limitation of time. And just by them having knowledge of that experience, again, a practical example, in a previous lifetime you were an orphan, you carry through abandonment wound within this lifetime, and it's affecting your relationship. So I will go in and see that, and then give the knowledge and the information to the client, and then in their own way they will be able to navigate it, and then kind of like reintegrate that soul fragment in order to expand their soul even more and start operating on these multidimensional levels and heal this wound that has been brought through from other lifetimes.
This is some science based too. I mean, there's epigenetics, where you're inherited through gene. That's a real thing. There's also glossalia, which you do, is speaking in tongues. Different cultures have done it throughout time. This is stuff that is science-based as well. And talk a little about that.
I don't really do much like external research, so my information is all directly channeled. So what I know and how it comes through is kind of like how I understand it. I actually specifically get told from my guides that it's better for me to, just have my own source of income and information in that aspect and way. But when it comes for the light language, I mean, people have been speaking in tongues since forever. The light language language in the way that I understand it, it's just more energetically, galactically imprinted. So it's got this vibrational frequency imprinting of these beings that are more galactic. So you will have maybe some languages that have been around for very long, that people have with speaking in tongues, or even I think there's some churches or people in churches that also like speak in tongues. Those will be kind of like more earth-based, and with the evolution of consciousness and the vibrational frequency of the planet rising, the light language is also shifting and expanding. So when it comes down to kind of like more the physics, the way I understand it is the quantum realm is the bridge between the science and the spirituality. The light language works beyond the constraints of space and time. So it works within the quantum realm, or what some would call the fifth dimensional density. While we operate and exist and navigate within the 3D realm where we have limitations of space and time, we will access the 4D realm, which will be your astral space when you dream, and that's kind of like overlapping. And then when we access these high vibrational frequency spaces, like the channeling, even something like Reiki would operate within your 5D realm, we access that and we bring that back into here and into the now, and apply it and use it within the 3D realm construct that we live and exist in, in the more solid realm. So I don't know if that gives a bit of science to it.
Would it get to a point where if you're talking light language, someone who understands it from the other side, we can talk in light language, is the same words repeated over, or is it like just very different because it's sound and frequencies? Is it very different each time?
So that's a very good question. It's very interesting. I did a channeling with a colleague of mine, and both our channels synced. So they synced, and we were both channeling the same words at the same time with the same movements. So that can happen. I have spoken light language to a colleague, and they have communicated back at me and will kind of like make a sense and understanding, but it cannot really be translated verbatim because it's not a language how we would understand an English language, or like the phonetics can maybe kind of like be repeated, but because it's a direct expression and translation of the soul of the individual, it cannot really be repeated exactly the same. But because it also has some galactic imprinting, there are light languages out there that are similar, like you'll see writing and codes that are similar, that a lot of people channel similarly, but it'll never be exactly the same. But for sure, like when you channel light language, you can kind of communicate, you'll get a feeling, you'll get an understanding of what is coming through. Not with everyone, but yeah, a lot of the time you will.
Talk about some of the breakthroughs. I mean, this is heavy stuff. I mean, you're maybe people that have tried everything else. They've tried drugs. They've tried everything else, modern medicine. You may be the last resort. Talk about those individuals, the people who are stuck, and how this may help.
Yeah, so I work organically with everyone that comes to me, and everyone, comes with a different intention. I do see a lot of similarities. I mean, I've had clients who've come to me with like tumors that have shrunk through energy healing, through light language. I have clients who've come to me who were doing chemotherapy, and they would literally come and be like, actually, like, the only reason I'm able to get through this is because I'm seeing you twice a week, and this is really healing and helping me on a level that sometimes they don't even perceive and understand. I work a lot with women who've come out of narcissistic and abusive relationships, having had that experience myself as well. So it's very beautiful when you see people that come to me in a certain space and then they leave really empowered. I also train people to do what I do, because I don't really want people to need me. Like, it's okay, they can come to me, I'll help them, and then I'll give them the tools so then they can go off and heal themselves or help others. Or even if they don't decide to go down like a healing journey collectively like I do, they still have the tools to heal within themselves. Every physical imbalance comes from an energetic imbalance. If you understand and can connect to the energetic imbalance first, because you're listening to yourself, your body, and your guides, then you don't even need to get to the physical. Like, you don't need to get sick. Like, the sickness is kind of like the last resort that the body is telling you that something's wrong. And most of the times, like, a lot of the times what actually just happens is that people struggle to speak their truth and to clear and release their emotions, and these get stuck in different parts and aspects of the body, and then this starts creating sickness. So if you eliminate that from the root and start living in integrity and in alignment and in your truth, you're also like not going to get sick.
Is this like a psychology process? Do you have to like talk to somebody and get to know who they are and their problems before you could start working on them? And how do you find people? How do you know if they need your help?
So I work in a lot of different ways. People find me. Generally, I don't, I'm obviously on the social media and I do speak at conferences around the world. I run retreats, but I've always kind of like put myself and my integrity and my message and my truth out there, and then whoever resonates will come to me. So I offer different types of sessions. Sometimes I don't even see the clients and I just work on their system remotely. I literally design sessions specifically in this way so that I actually just see their energy field, and then I'll go in and see, okay, maybe there's a blockage in the root, maybe there's some abandonment wound, maybe there's some shame, some guilt that needs to be cleared, maybe there's a problem in the nervous system, maybe your iron levels are low, maybe the blood and circulation isn't working, maybe you're carrying tension in your jaw, or it can be like so many different things. And I'll actually most of the time see or get kind of like a feeling and an understanding, and then I will send a feedback, work on their system, and then tell them, sometimes give them homework and things to do. And then in my longer processes, like my clients that maybe do programs with me 6 weeks, 6 months, then there will be a more kind of like in-depth / psychology counseling approach where I'm like, okay, what is your end goal? What do you need? Where do you want to get to? And then I'll work organically with them. But I don't need to really see someone. As long as I have their consent, they book a session with me, and then we speak. I'll just communicate via chat. I'll generally send them like a music track, so they'll lie down, relax for about an hour. I'll work remotely on their system and then send them a voice note with what I did and what has come through.
And when did you figure out you had this ability? I mean, how was this handed to you? Was it like a download, or did you wake up one day and start working on people?
I come from a lineage of psychic women. My mom is psychic. My grandmother, who's passed on, is actually assisting me from the other side, was also very psychic. None of them did psychic work for a living, but I was one of those kids who couldn't sleep because she would see shadows and would get prophetic dreaming and think of things and then they would happen. So I've always been kind of gifted throughout my life. It was never something that my family blocked. They didn't really even encourage it. They were like, oh, okay, yeah, like she kind of, bought a tarot deck at 12 with her first money sort of thing, and then in my teenage years, I was kind of like suppressing it, because then what happens with a lot of starseeds and people like me who are very psychically aware and in tune, it becomes very overwhelming, because you start picking up like energy from other people and you start picking up their traumas, and you have a very, very heightened, elevated level of empathy, and then it ends up draining you. Yeah. So a lot resort to like numbing themselves or completely blocking it off. And that's kind of like what I did until I started reprising it with my Reiki in my early 20s, and then my journey kind of like expanded and developed more and more from there. And then my channel opened with the light language back in 2017. At the time, there were maybe 10 to 15 light language channelers online when I started my own YouTube channel. Now there's like tens of thousands. So it's been kind of like growing exponentially, and like everything, I mean, and this is also what I teach, the more you practice, the better you get at it. It's like a sport, like a exercise, like I'm just, good at it because I've done it a lot, and with a lot of the time with the people out there who are doing this type of work, you don't see the years that have been behind it, practicing and doing like a lot of work based on donation and things like that. Like I would say that some people are more predisposed. Like I've done this kind of work in a lot of different lifetimes before this one, but everyone has a channel, everyone has a system, everyone has an energy field. So anyone can actually do what I do with the correct training.
Doing a little research on you, it says that you are a ninth dimension Pleiadian and a 12th dimension Mantis. Is that correct?
To an extent, yes, that is correct. They are higher versions of myself. So we are part of the same. And these are beings that I started working with more or less when my channel opened, well, consciously working with them when my channel opened. And yeah, basically what happens is the mantis being will come more through in the written codes. And when there is kind of like more firm technology that comes through in my light language, and that is very closely connected to the Acturians as well. The Pleiadian is another version of myself that when I channel, it's the main one that actually comes through and connects, and it's a very heart-centered energy that covers the whole rainbow race spectrum as well. So these are basically versions of myself that are existing on other dimensional densities that I have merged back with and connected to, that come through and assist me, and well, they always with me, sort of thing. My channel's very integrated, so I don't have to like call them in. They like, with me all the time. But they are, yeah, a version of me, and a version of myself and of my soul.
Do all of us have that in us? Do we have other beings like us in other dimensions?
So not everyone has other versions of themselves. Some souls are quite new. Well, they are here on their first experience. So those souls won't generally have, but most of us do. Most of us have done this before. Most of us who are here now have been here before and have done this before. And a lot of the Wayshower souls that are coming in have done this on other planets. So they do have that kind of experience as well. And yes, that is correct. I generally connect to the higher version of self of someone. And sometimes what happens is when I have to go in and see a karmic cord and connection between two people, if the one client is coming to me and says, hey, this is my partner or my child, I would like to see my karmic cord or connection. What I do is I will connect to the higher version of self of the other person. Then I will ask for permission, if it's okay, to get information that is relevant to the client that's with me at that moment in time, that is serving for the client's highest alignment. And only in that case, then I will be allowed to see and understand and bring through the information for the individual.
It bucks modern medicine, what people think of how to heal. And this seems alternative, but more accepted than ever.
We always hear there's possibly different dimensions, and we're living in, we could have another one of us in another dimension happening, parallel timelines. So this means in a parallel timeline, you or one of us could be a whole different species in a parallel timeline?
That is correct, yeah.
Wow.
And just to add to that, with regards to the medical field, about like 40% of my clients is people in the medical field.
So do you need to be accepting this when you get it? Do you need to be willing? You have to be open to it? Or is it just bam, you zap people?
It's a little bit of both, because on a subconscious level, like, people are open, if it makes sense. However, you can only perceive and see as much as you're ready to perceive and see. So if you're operating from a baseline vibrational frequency of 2 and I'm working at 5, you're only going to be able to see up to 2. You're not going to be able to see 3, 4, and 5. Does it make sense? So if I do give information that goes from 1 till 5 and you're at 2, you'll see information 1, information 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 will go, right over your head. So generally, obviously, if someone comes to me or comes to my conferences or my talks or my workshops, they're obviously open. A lot of the time, I find that people sometimes don't have the cognitive understanding within this reality, but they do on higher levels. So that's where the trust comes in, the surrender, the saying, okay, like, I trust that this is for my greatest good. I surrender into it. And then the clarity comes with that as well. It's a very 3D human ego perception to want to know. And I find that a lot of people are like, oh, but I want to know what's happening. I want to know my lifetimes. I want to know this. I want to know that. And, the paradox is that you will actually only know when you release the attachment to wanting to know. But I think that, everyone at their own speed, we all moving in the same direction and without any judgment. Those that are aware should, hold the light, and with compassion and integrity, and without forcing too much, kind of like, show it to the others.
Do you know these other yous and other parallel timelines? Do you communicate with them? Do they have names? Do you talk? I mean, are you guys friends? Is it like a communication that?
Not really. So what happens is the energetic field and the energetic imprinting integrates with yours. So I can tune in at any time. So I've got a parallel me that's currently living in LA, and I've got another one that's currently full-time living in New York. For just an example, I've got a version of myself that in the 1500s got shot and like died. I've got another version of myself that was massacred as a mermaid in Mozambique. I don't know how many, years ago. I've got versions of me in Atlantis. I've got versions of me in Lemuria. So what happens is when you have awareness of these versions, you actually integrate them within your soul and energy field, and you start integrating their gifts as well. And this is how you expand multidimensionally and how more gifts start coming online. More vision, more psychic intuition, more clairaudience, more claircognizance, more empathy, and all of that. So there's no use for me to continuously interacting with these versions of myself. I very much try to be in the here and the now when I'm not working in these spaces. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of versions of me doing very similar things to what I'm doing now. Some of them have kids with other partners. Some of them are older. But yeah, there's infinite timelines and possibilities. It would require just doing that if you wanted to, find all of them out. So for me, the connection is only there when there's a purpose that's benefiting the individual or the collective.
Do they ever reach out to you? Does it go both ways?
It does go both ways, and this is a perfect example that I'm going to give you. So this happened through my guides, like about in 2022, I was divinely guided. So I do grid work. I work on the land, and I clear whole pieces of land and spaces and activate ley lines and do that type of work as well. And I was called to go on this beach in Mozambique, and I didn't know why, and I was just told by my guides, go. There was an event happening there. I was with my partner at the time, and when I got there, I saw about 500 mermaids that were massacred on that beach in a parallel timeline, and I was one of them. So I was called there to do the healing for this version of myself, for myself now, because we're all connected, and for the land. So yeah, it definitely does go. If you look at the quantum realm, nothing is linear there. So it's all, happening at the same time. It's all kind of like circular. So it's not me calling them calling me. We all calling each other at the same time. And it's just kind of like the radio frequency that you are able to pick up better because, you're stable and you're listening and you're neutral within yourself. And then once you pick it up and you're able to perceive that there is some sort of distortion and imbalance, then you go in that direction and you heal and you clear the imbalance so that you become, a more whole and better version of yourself.
Well, I think Will and we need some work done. I think nowadays, especially how media, electronics, it's dumbing us up to where we're losing that touch to the ground. Third eye is getting just glossed over. What's the future look like for humans if we just keep going this way?
So, I just prefer generally when it comes to these questions, speaking it from an educational perspective and point. So what can we do to avoid that, and what is a healthy way moving forward? So right now we are clearing Atlantean karmic timelines within the earth and as humanity. So I'm just going to briefly explain from my understanding and what I've channeled and seen. In one of the different falls of Atlantis, the technology ended up taking over. So part of the evolutionary process, the technology is inevitable. We just need to learn to integrate it in a way that it's healthy so that the technology is serving us, not that we are serving it. And that was the mistake and what happened, in ancient Atlantis. So if the individual learns and is able to step back into their own sovereignty, then there will be balance with regards to that as well. So, you see a lot of these people that say, oh, let's go in the forest in the middle of nowhere and live off the trees. Like, it's fine. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but you're not being productive in assisting the evolutionary process of the species. Like, we're going to evolve, whether people like it or not. We are moving forward in some sort of direction. It's just a matter of understanding how to move in a healthy way and integrate the technology in a healthy way. There's beings that are so much more evolved than us that use technology. They just use it in a way that is useful for them and healthy for them, and that it doesn't, take over, and that we don't get, like stuck with these screens, and we don't end up communicating with nature. So like everything, there needs to be balance. It's kind of like when people come to me and they're like, oh, no, I'm not taking any medicines ever. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for westernized medicine, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be here because I needed to have an operation in my mid-20s on a kidney that if I was born in medieval times, I wouldn't be here, So I think that finding balance in everything is key.
We hear a lot that there's supposed to be some big event that's going to happen. People say it could be an alien invasion. I don't know. It could be end times. Are we expecting something through your knowledge? Is there something coming up?
From my understanding, these things have been prophesized for years and for very long. I think that disclosure is already happening on an individual level. I do believe that it will happen on a collective level as well. There are people out there that are talking of like big, I think like power outages and things like that. I don't think there needs to be a hectic, like a dramatic and intense shift in that way. That's only going to happen if we don't move as quickly within our ascension process like we are. And right now, we've already entered the lower tiers of fourth dimension positively polarized Earth, which means that we are going in the right direction. We are actually on track. If there needs to be big shifts to clear the karma of the Earth, that's difficult to tell. There's definitely, I believe that the integration will be and will happen in a way that isn't too disruptive. I think it's going to be quite gentle. It's going to be disruptive on an individual level. So what does this mean? If you haven't done your work, if you haven't cleared your traumas, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to suffer. That's kind of like how I see it and how I understand it. But, when it comes to the collective, there's so many different timelines that it's really difficult. I'm seeing big shifts in 2026. And I'm also seeing, which that's what I predicted and I spoke about at the expo last year and then this year as well, a lot more of this information going a lot more in mainstream media. So, and that's going to bring a very big perception shift. And then from there, it's kind of like going to keep on expanding. I mean, if you think about it, the ascension awakening process has been exponentially growing for the last few years, and it's growing a lot and quite quickly. So I personally have faith in humanity. I love humans. I love being here. I'm feeling very positive for the future of humanity. That's how I like to navigate and see things.
You've seen all the sightings. That's especially now. There's a plethora of sightings, and then we have, these congressional hearings. Are all these different, Pleiadians, Aldebarans, all these different aliens? Are they actually coming to Earth here, or is this our own technology, possibly our own government, our own technology?
I think that ET beings have been here for a very long time. They're already here. They're just operating on different dimensional densities. So you're not even not so much. I was seeing them in the underground when I was in Italy. You can literally, if you're aware enough and your third eye is opened and tuned in enough, you can actually literally see them. I think that some of these also, some of these UFOs are, positive beings. Some of them maybe not so much. What I can say for sure is I think if they don't want to be seen, they're not going to be seen. If you're seeing them, it's because they want to be seen.
I've always thought that myself, too.
Your work isn't just individual. It has to do with global consciousness as well. A real change can happen, right? We'd like to think, because it's pretty crazy out there.
Information goes where it's needed. I think people's mind is opening up, and there's a lot of these conferences where, thousands of people are coming and they're connecting and they're having these beautiful experiences, and they're seeing these beings and they're receiving these healings. And there's so many technologies that have been coming in through humans and through our galactic ET beings and families, that it's really, I mean, I guess for me, it's because it's my life, it's the reality that I live in. But I think even for your average person that isn't really super connected to these things, like it's impossible to not see that something is going on. And yes, of course, the dream would be to really like bring this on a huge global scale and level. So for me, how I navigate with that is I'll get sent to do retreats in specific areas of the world. Like the next one that I'm doing will be in Bali. And then while I'm there, I will work on the land. And as I do work on the land and on the grid, everyone who is within the area or living on the land or passes on the land will actually receive specific codes that will activate and open up and expand and assist in their own journey, you know, and on their individual level.
Yeah, I don't know if this is asking too much, but is there any way you could do a clearing session with us?
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
is there where we can experience this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you can close your eyes
All right.
and just act the body as you find your comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. So as you relax body, system, and energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. So we call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Opening, 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 opening systems, opening, 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 opening. Rat kriya se kora iseraya shiana tre tre kiara takrat krea tra traya traya tre ishraya shit koro ichena yatra opening, 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 pulling in divine rays, anchoring, 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 anchoring. Anchoring light, clean, releasing, 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 releasing. Rat creo tu ora isenata. Shat kria naratre ora sikia kia kia era te naratra. Shkrukut kara ishirayat ria ria te crea shenatatra. Shkrakisha opening, opening, opening systems, opening, opening, opening. Opening, more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 expanding, attuning, 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 more light, anchoring, anchoring, attuning, anchoring, attuning, 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 clean, releasing, 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 letting go, 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 opening, 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 expanding, 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 more light, grounding, 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 anchoring, yashido kurukutkra ishena yatra, shkurukura tre korok ona isiatre atkiaratra, shukrat kreatre kumrase korok ora yetkra ishenatra, Trahut kraishena yatra tre ariate kuro isiatra, shkrukuara ishenatra, grounding, grounding, anchoring, grounding, anchoring. Anchoring, anchoring, grounding, 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 anchoring, grounding, anchoring, attuning, 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 attuning systems, attuning, 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 balancing, 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 clean, releasing, 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 clean peripheral, clean, releasing, 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 letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, expanding, 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 divine rays, more light, anchoring, anchoring, anchor, or rays, rainbow rays, attuning, attuning, anchoring, attuning, anchoring, attuning, anchoring, integrating, integrating, clean, releasing, releasing, connecting, 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 synapses, expanding, 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 attuning, expanding, attuning, attuning, expanding, expanding, releasing, 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 letting go. Letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. All that does not serve you, we let go, we let go, we let go. We surrender, 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 surrendering. Divine rays, activating, 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 activating. Kukuro ishirayatra. Kukuro ishirayatra, ishirayatra. Kratukuro ishirayatra, grounding, 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 anchoring, grounding, anchoring, anchoring, clean peripheral, grounding, anchoring, 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 closing, 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 sealing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, closing. Closing, sealing, sealing, closing, 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 sealing, 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 closing, 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 attuning, closing, attuning, attuning, anchoring, 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 na, shkurukuru ishirayatra, shkuruku ishinayatra, shkuruku ishinayatra. Then gently anchor back into the body. And take a few minutes to ground back in the physical vessel. For everyone who's listening, you're welcome to stay in process for as long as you feel like you need to. Whenever you feel ready, you can come back and open your eyes.
Yeah. There was a point when it was like half or midway through. It was like you were like you were like sweeping away the like some dark stuff, and then just like shooting it out. Like you were calling me to do it. You know, it was really cool. Thank you. I felt
thank you.
emotional now.
No, that was awesome.
Generally, yeah, I always do it when I go and talk on an interview because it speaks a lot louder than me explaining. And again, everyone integrates in different ways. Everyone operates in different ways. It'll take a few days to integrate in the system. Sometimes you can feel emotional. You can get triggered more easily. You can feel like you need to eat more, sleep more. You might have old things come up and resurface. You might feel tingles. You might feel things in the body. So yeah, just surrendering into the process. And even again, there's no need to understand it. It will go where it's needed and for what is needed for the individual.
The big question that you may or may not know is when we move on and pass away to another, well, what does happen? Does our energy and our light dissipate? It gone just like that?
Like everything, it comes down to choice. So you can choose once you leave, you can choose. So for me, for example, like I do thousands of year cycles. So I'll come back, I'll be on Earth for like 1,000 years, and I'll go off and incarnate on another planet for like 500 years. Then I'll go in another one for another 1,000. Then I'll come here for like another 500 and things like that. So it's choice, you know. So for me, I've done this many times. I'll probably choose to come back after this lifetime to help the planet. Some people are like, okay, I'm actually done. I don't want to be here anymore. Sometimes they will go and help and live on other planets. And there's planets where you literally are just like existing in bliss, like a blob, you know, and some souls choose to do that. But what I can say for certain is that every soul, before they merge back to source consciousness, needs to go through certain lessons. So whether they go through the lessons within Earth, or whether they go through the lessons, you know, in Lyra or in Pleiades or in Orion, or, you know, wherever they choose, they still need to navigate those lessons. But how quickly and how easily and how gracefully the lessons are navigated, that comes down to the free will. So I don't know if this answers the question, but you know, when this is done, you can, yeah, like you can pretty much
choices.
So our energy it doesn't end there. It's for you. It's super clear that this is not the end. So saying that, what would you give just a straight advice to someone that is having a hard time maybe?
You don't get given anything that you can't handle. But I think it's really important to listen to yourself, be a kind human, and stay in your truth. And if something isn't serving you, then the lesson perhaps in that is in surrendering and letting go. And I think that a lot of the time, because of a scarcity mindset and template, people tend to hold on and they make the lesson harder than what it's supposed to be. You know, they tend to, you know, hold on to things tightly, and they're scared that they're going to lose it, and they're losing part of themselves or their individuality or whatever it is. So I think, yeah, the best thing would be, you know, to take a step back, observe, and try and make the decision that feels best for you at that moment in time, not necessarily the one that you want, but the one that, and we all have the innate knowing. We all connected to source consciousness. We all have that divine guidance. Once you start operating from that and you're in integrity and in your truth, you can't go wrong. There won't be any wrongs in your life.
We got this, dude. We got this. We got a lot, yeah. What was that one moment that changed everything that you were like, oh, okay, I'm different? Because a lot of people may have that moment too, you know, and it might help them out. Be like, okay, me too.
Something that comes to me as you ask that is when I was 9 years old, I was in the living room with my parents and I saw this advert for this program, like documentary that came on, and it was the old box TVs from the 90s. So the flat screens hadn't been invented yet. And this this woman from the south of Italy, quite like a simple, to an extent, uneducated woman, and she spoke about something, and then I remember her saying like, I don't know much, but I know that I come from Pleiades. And something in my brain clicked. I was 9. I didn't even know what Pleiades was, and I was like, yeah, like I also come from there. Like I just knew. And that for me was like a haha moment, which I only actually properly understood later in my life. But I think it's more of a series of small realizations. A lot of people have big perception shifts. Sometimes they come through not in the way that we would like them to. So, through traumas and things like that. It's important. What I find in life is that, we all get conditioned in certain ways. And then the spiritual journey is about releasing the conditioning and unlearning everything that you've been taught and programmed to know, and really knowing and learning your truth, your own individual self, and whatever direction it is that you want to go down with your soul's mission. But this is a good one. If you're struggling and you're not sure and you want answers and questions, and you have questions, ask your guides, and an easier way for them to come through is through your dreams. So before falling asleep, set an intention, ask a question, ask your guides for guidance, and then see what comes through. There is something called the law of non-intervention, which means unless you ask for guidance, your guides can't come and help you. So if you're struggling, that's a good space to start in connecting with your higher versions of self and guides.
That's good stuff right there. Yeah.
Yes.